The sun dipped low over the city, casting golden streaks across the sky as the young seamstress hurried down the busy street. Her fingers, calloused from years of needlework, clutched a bundle of freshly stitched dresses. Life hadn't been easy for her. Every penny she earned went toward keeping her small shop open and helping her aging parents. But she never complained. There was a quiet strength in her, the kind that comes from knowing struggle but refusing to let it break you. Across town, in a towering office building with glass walls that reflected the sunset, a man sat at his desk, staring at numbers on a screen. He had everything money could buy: luxury cars, designer suits, a penthouse with a view, but none of it filled the emptiness inside him. His mother, a sharp-eyed woman who had built their family fortune from nothing, constantly reminded him of his duty: marry well, protect their name, and never let emotions cloud his judgment. Fate, however, had other plans. One rainy evening, his car broke down near a quiet street lined with small shops. With his driver gone for the day and no taxi in sight, he stepped into the nearest place for shelter, a tiny boutique with a flickering neon sign. The bell above the door chimed, and the seamstress looked up from her work. Their eyes met, and something inside him shifted. She didn't recognize him, not as the millionaire whose face often appeared in business magazines. To her, he was just a man soaked from the rain. Without a word, she handed him a towel and a warm cup of tea. He tried to pay her, but she shook her head. "It's just tea," she said with a soft smile. That small act of kindness lingered in his mind long after the rain stopped. Days turned into weeks, and he found himself visiting her shop under flimsy excuses: a torn cuff, a missing button. Each time, she greeted him with the same warmth, never treating him differently despite his expensive clothes. His mother noticed his sudden absences. When she discovered where he'd been spending his time, her lips tightened in disapproval. "That girl is beneath you," she said coldly. "You will ruin everything we've built." But for the first time in his life, he didn't care about money or status. He only cared about the way his heart raced when the seamstress laughed, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her dreams. One evening, as she stitched a delicate pattern under the dim light of her shop, he took her hand and asked, "What if I could give you everything you've ever wanted?" She looked at him, puzzled. "You already have," she said simply. "You treat me like a person, not just a seamstress." Tears stung his eyes. No one had ever seen him the way she did, not as a wallet, not as a last name, but as a man. He made his decision. He would marry her, no matter what his mother said. The wedding was planned in secret, a small, intimate affair with just a few friends. But as the seamstress walked down the aisle in a simple white dress she had made herself, the doors burst open. His mother stood there, her face twisted in fury. What she did next would shatter the room into silence, and change their lives forever. The seamstress sat alone in her tiny workshop, the hum of the old fan doing little to fight the summer heat. Her fingers moved swiftly, stitching intricate patterns into a wedding gown, not hers, but a wealthy client's. The fabric was smooth under her touch, the kind she could never afford for herself. She sighed, rubbing her tired eyes. The shop was quiet except for the rhythmic click-clack of her sewing machine. It had been a long day, and her back ached from hours of bending over her work. But she couldn't stop. Not when her father's medicine bills were piling up, not when her mother's hands shook too much to thread a needle anymore. A knock at the door startled her. She looked up to see the millionaire standing there, his usual polished demeanor replaced by something urgent. His tie was loose, his hair slightly messy, as if he had run all the way here. "You're still here," he said, breathless. "I was afraid you'd be gone." She blinked. "Why would I be gone?" He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I told my mother about us." Her heart dropped. She had known this moment would come, had dreaded it. She wasn't naive, she understood the world they lived in. A man like him didn't marry a girl like her, not in the eyes of people who measured worth in bank accounts and family names. What did she say? She asked quietly, bracing herself. His jaw tightened. Nothing good. She called you, names I won't repeat. She said she'd cut me off if I didn't end things. The seamstress looked down at her hands, rough from years of work. Maybe she's right. He grabbed her hands, startling her. No. She's not. I don't care about the money, the business, any of it. I care about you. She wanted to believe him. But life had taught her that love rarely survived the weight of reality. Flashback, 5 years earlier. The seamstress was just a teenager then, watching her own mother cry silently as the landlord threw their belongings onto the street. Their small tailoring shop had failed, swallowed by bigger stores that could afford machines and workers. "We'll start again," her father had said, coughing into his sleeve. But his health was failing, and starting again was a dream for those with full pockets. That night, she made a promise to herself: she would never let helplessness define her. She taught herself to sew, working late into the night until her fingers bled. When she finally opened her own tiny shop, it was nothing more than a closet with a sewing machine. But it was hers. Present day. The millionaire's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face darkening. It's her again. The seamstress pulled her hands away. You should go. I'm not leaving. She's your family. And you're my future, he said firmly. For the first time, she let herself imagine it, a life where she wasn't scrambling for rent, where her parents could finally rest. But then reality crashed back in. What if she ruins you? She whispered. What if she takes everything? He cupped her face. Then I'll still have you. And that's enough. She wanted to believe him. But outside, a sleek black car pulled up, his mother's car. And the seamstress knew, the storm was coming. The black car door swung open, and the millionaire's mother stepped out in a tailored suit that cost more than the seamstress made in a year. Her sharp heels clicked against the pavement like a warning. The millionaire tensed. Stay here, he told the seamstress, but she shook her head. No. If this is about me, I won't hide. His mother's cold gaze swept over the tiny shop, the peeling paint, the second-hand sewing machine, the neatly folded fabric stacked on wooden crates. Her lip curled slightly, as if the air inside was beneath her. So this is where you've been wasting your time, she said, voice dripping with disdain. The millionaire stepped between them. We need to talk. Outside. His mother laughed, a sound like ice cracking. Oh, now you want privacy? After parading around with this, nobody? The seamstress flinched but held her ground. She had spent a lifetime being looked down on, one more pair of judgmental eyes wouldn't break her. The millionaire's voice turned low, dangerous. Enough. You don't get to speak to her like that. His mother's eyes flashed. I built our empire from nothing so you wouldn't end up in places like this. And this is how you repay me? Throwing away your future for a pair of pretty eyes? The seamstress spoke up, quieter but firm. I'm not asking for anything. Of course you're not, the mother sneered. Because you know you'll get it anyway. A girl like you always does. The millionaire slammed his hand on the counter. Stop. She's never taken a single thing from me, not even the tea she offered when I walked in here drenched. When was the last time you did something without keeping score? For a fraction of a second, his mother's mask slipped. Something raw flickered in her eyes, pain? Fear? Then it was gone. You think this is about money? She stepped closer, her whisper like a knife. It's about survival. Our name opens doors. Our reputation keeps them open. Marry her, and those doors slam shut, for both of you. The seamstress's stomach twisted. She had seen how the world worked. The wealthy stuck together, and outsiders were crushed beneath their polished shoes. The millionaire looked at his mother, really looked at her, for the first time. "You're afraid," he realized. "Don't be ridiculous." "No. You're terrified, not for me, but for yourself. Because if I choose her, it means everything you sacrificed for, the family name, was for nothing." His mother's breath hitched. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then she turned on her heel. "You'll regret this," she threw over her shoulder. "And when you do, don't come crawling back." The door slammed behind her. Silence. The millionaire exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry." The seamstress stared at the door, her chest tight. "She's right, though." "About what?" "People like her will make life hard for you. For us." He took her hands. "Let them." She wanted to believe him. But later that night, as she locked up the shop, she noticed the notice taped to her door: "Building condemned for renovations. All tenants must vacate in 30 days. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't a coincidence. And the war had only just begun. The eviction notice crumpled in the seamstress's grip as she stormed into the dimly lit office of the building superintendent. The fan overhead wobbled, casting flickering shadows on stacks of unpaid invoices and rusted filing cabinets. "You can't just kick me out," she demanded, slapping the paper onto his desk. "I've paid rent on time for 5 years." The superintendent, a tired man with grease-stained sleeves, barely glanced up. "Not my call." "New owners." "Who?" He shrugged. "Some shell company. Paperwork still processing." Her stomach dropped. Shell company. The kind rich people used to hide their moves. Across town, the millionaire paced his penthouse, phone pressed to his ear. His lawyer's voice crackled through. "Bad news. Your mother transferred control of your trust fund to the board. They're freezing your assets until you reconsider recent decisions." He cursed. "What else?" "Your car's been repossessed. Corporate credit cards cancelled. Oh, and," the lawyer hesitated, "she's calling in favors with every luxury retailer in the city. Word is, anyone who does business with you faces blacklisting." The millionaire sank onto the couch, staring at the skyline. He'd expected cuts. Not a scorched earth campaign. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You think this is hard? Wait till you see what's coming for her." Back at the shop, the seamstress pried up a loose floorboard beneath her sewing table. Inside lay a rusted biscuit tin, her emergency fund. $872 in crumpled bills, tips painstakingly saved over years. Enough for first month's rent somewhere cheaper. Maybe. The bell over the door jingled. She shoved the tin under fabric scraps as a woman entered, mid-50s, sharp blazer, hair streaked with gray. "Not a customer." "You're the seamstress." "Not a question." "And you are?" "Someone who's seen this movie before." The woman slid a business card across the counter. "Legal Aid Society. Heard about your eviction. Thought you might need this." She tapped a second card tucked beneath it, a handwritten address. The seamstress frowned. "What's this?" "Storage unit. Belonged to your boyfriend's father. He left something there before he died. Might help you understand why his mother's so hellbent on destroying you." A chill crawled up her spine. "Why help me?" The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Because 20 years ago, I was you. Only I wasn't brave enough to fight back." Rain pounded the pavement as the seamstress ducked into the storage facility. Unit 114's padlock yielded to bolt cutters. The metal door screeched open, revealing a single dusty box. Inside, faded photos of the millionaire's father, young and grinning, arm around a woman who wasn't his mother. Beneath them, yellowed love letters signed, "Forever, your Libby." And at the bottom, a hospital bracelet, "Patient, L. Esposito." Delivery, baby girl. Dated 2 years before the millionaire was born. The seamstress's hands shook. This wasn't just about class. This was about a secret. And she'd just torn it wide open. The hospital bracelet felt like fire in the seamstress's hands. The name El Esposito stared back at her, the ink faded but the truth undeniable. She carefully tucked the bracelet into her pocket, her mind racing. She needed to talk to the millionaire. Now. The rain had turned into a storm by the time she reached his penthouse. The doorman, recognizing her from previous visits, let her up without question. When the elevator doors opened, the millionaire was already standing there, his face pale. "You got a text too?" he asked before she could speak. She frowned. "What text?" He handed her his phone. The same unknown number had sent him a photo, a grainy image of the storage unit's open door. The caption read, "She knows. Now what will you do?" The seamstress's blood ran cold. They were being watched. She pulled out the hospital bracelet. "We need to talk about this." His breath hitched when he saw it. "Where did you?" "Your father's storage unit." There were letters, photos. She hesitated. "I think your mother has been lying to you. About everything." A young woman with wild curls and paint-stained fingers laughed as she spun through a sunlit studio. The millionaire's father, decades younger, caught her by the waist, pulling her close. "Marry me, Libby," he whispered. She kissed him. In another life. But another life never came. His family had already chosen his bride, a sharp-eyed woman from a proper background. When Libby showed up at his engagement party, round with his child, his mother had security drag her out. 9 months later, Libby died in childbirth. The baby, a girl, vanished into foster care. And the millionaire's father? He drank himself to death within 5 years. The millionaire sank onto the couch, gripping the bracelet. "All this time. I had a sister. And my mother knew." The seamstress sat beside him. "She's not just trying to break us up because I'm poor. It's because I remind her of Libby." A knock at the door startled them both. The millionaire opened it to find his mother's lawyer, clutching an envelope. "Your mother instructed me to deliver this personally." Inside was a single sheet of paper, a revised version of the eviction notice. The seamstress's shop wasn't just being closed. It was being demolished. In 72 hours. And beneath that, a handwritten note. "Drop this little investigation, or I'll make sure you never find her." The millionaire's hands shook with rage. She's threatening a woman she's never even met. The lawyer adjusted his tie. "There's more. Your mother has filed for an emergency psychiatric hold against you. Claims your reckless behavior proves you're a danger to yourself." He nodded to 2 uniformed men waiting in the hall. "They're here to take you in." The seamstress stepped between them. "You can't do this." The lawyer smirked. "Watch us." As they dragged the millionaire away, he shouted over his shoulder, "Find my sister. She's the only one who can stop this." The door slammed. The seamstress was alone. With 72 hours to uncover a lifetime of lies. The seamstress sprinted through the rain, the lawyer's mocking words still ringing in her ears. 72 hours. 3 days to stop an empire from crushing everything she loved. She pulled out her phone, fingers trembling as she dialed the only person who might help, the woman from legal aid. "I need to find Libby's daughter. Now." The millionaire sat on a stiff cot, staring at the bolted window. His mother's game was clear: declare him unstable, seize control of his shares, and erase the seamstress from his life. The door creaked open. Not a doctor. His mother. She smoothed her designer skirt as she sat across from him. "You look tired." He didn't blink. "Where's my sister?" A flicker of surprise. Then, cold amusement. So the little seamstress did find the storage unit. I should have burned it years ago. You hid her from me. From Dad. That girl was a mistake. Just like your seamstress. She leaned in. Sign the papers relinquishing your assets, and I'll drop the hold. Refuse, she trailed off, letting the threat hang. He met her gaze. Go to hell. The legal aid woman's clue led to a rundown diner on the city's outskirts. The waitress, a tired-eyed woman in her 50s with Libby's wild curls, froze when the seamstress slid the hospital bracelet across the counter. Where did you get this? She whispered. Your father left it. The woman, Maria, laughed bitterly. That man was never my father. He didn't even hold me once. She wiped her hands on her apron. Why now? Your brother's in trouble. His mother's trying to. His mother ruined my life. Maria's voice cracked. She paid off the adoption agency to list me as deceased. I grew up in foster homes while she played happy family. The seamstress reached for her hand. Help me stop her. Maria hesitated. Then, from her pocket, she pulled a faded photo, Libby and the millionaire's father, pressed close. On the back, an address. Her old studio. Mother Dearest bought it to erase her. But some things, Maria smirked, you can't demolish. The abandoned building reeked of mildew, but beneath the dust, the seamstress saw it, a mural of wildflowers, half-painted on the brick wall. Libby's work. And beneath a loose floorboard, a leather journal. Inside, the final entry. She's threatening to take my baby. But I hid the proof, the checks she paid the doctor to fake my death, the adoption records. Behind the mural. Find it. Tell my daughter I loved. The rest was smudged. Tears. The seamstress pried at the mural's edge. The plaster crumbled, revealing a rusted safe. Inside, a stack of checks signed by the millionaire's mother. And a birth certificate, parentage, acknowledged by father. Maria's hands shook as she held it. This proves I'm his heir. The seamstress's phone buzzed, a notification. News alert, demolition crews moved up. Starting tonight. They had hours. Not days. Maria stood. Let's go burn her empire down. The city's financial district hummed with power and money, a world away from the seamstress's crumbling shop. But today, Maria, wild curls barely tamed into a bun, her waitress uniform swapped for borrowed office wear, marched into the towering headquarters of the family empire with a leather journal in her grip. The receptionist blocked her path. You can't go up without an appointment. Maria slapped the birth certificate on the desk. Tell the board this is my appointment. Demolition site, 8:17 p.m. The seamstress sprinted toward her shop, heart pounding as she saw the bulldozers already roaring to life. The foreman shook his head at her protests. Orders from the top. Tonight. She spotted the real reason, workers not just clearing debris, but sifting through it. They're looking for something. Her fingers dug into her palms. The safe behind Libby's mural wasn't the only proof. Boardroom, 8:29 p.m. Maria stood before a table of stunned executives, projecting the journal's pages onto the screen. 28 years ago, this woman, she pointed to Libby's photo, was paid to disappear. Her child, me, was erased. And all while she, Maria, turned to the millionaire's mother, now pale in the doorway, played the grieving widow. The board shifted uncomfortably as checks and documents circulated. One director frowned. These payments, they're from the company's private funds. That's embezzlement. The mother's veneer cracked. You ungrateful little. Enough. The millionaire's voice cut through the room. Everyone turned. He stood there, free, flanked by lawyers. Psychiatric hold? Really, mother? He nodded to Maria. Meet your firstborn. Demolition site, 8:42 p.m. The seamstress ducked under caution tape, weaving through workers until she reached her shop's back wall, the one with the faded floral embroidery she'd stitched herself. A worker grabbed her arm. Lady, you gotta leave. She yanked free and pried at the loose brick beneath her sewing table. Inside the hollow space, a small tin box. The foreman's walkie-talkie crackled. Abort demolition. Repeat, abort. Too late. The bulldozer's claw swung toward the shop's front window. Crash. Glass exploded inward as the seamstress clutched the box. Inside, a single key. To a safe deposit box. Libby's final gift. Boardroom, 9:01 p.m. The mother's chair sat empty, her empire crumbling faster than the seamstress's walls. The board voted unanimously, frozen assets, investigations, Maria's paternity claim recognized. Yet as the millionaire hugged his sister, his phone buzzed, a text from the seamstress. Just an address. And a photo of a key. He knew that handwriting. Not hers. Libby's. The bank vault's heavy door swung open with a metallic groan. The seamstress and the millionaire stood frozen in the dim light, staring at the small safe deposit box marked L. Esposito. The air smelled of old paper and dust, the scent of buried history about to be unearthed. The millionaire's fingers hovered over the box. Whatever's in here, it scared her enough to try erasing an entire life. The seamstress placed her calloused hand over his. Then let's see why. Inside the box. 3 items lay inside. A faded Polaroid of Libby heavily pregnant, standing before a half-finished mural, the same wildflowers from the studio. Scrawled on the back, if you're seeing this, I didn't make it. Protect her. A deed to a countryside cottage in Libby's name, paid in full. A letter, sealed but yellowed with age. The millionaire broke the seal with trembling hands. His father's words spilled out. My love, if you're reading this, I've failed you. The money in this account is yours. Take our child and run. My mother will never stop. The rest was scribbled out violently, by someone else's hand. The seamstress sucked in a breath. He tried to save them. The millionaire's voice cracked. And she stopped him. The mother's secret. They found her in the cottage, the one from the deed, surrounded by emptied bourbon bottles and decades-old rage. You. She glared at Maria, then at the Polaroid in the millionaire's hand. That woman ruined everything. No, the millionaire said softly. You did. The truth tumbled out like rotten fruit. She discovered the cottage deed weeks before Libby's due date. Intercepted the bank transfers. Paid the doctor to lie about Libby dying in childbirth. All to keep her legacy untouched. I saved this family, she screamed, fist slamming onto the table. Maria stepped forward, tears cutting through her mascara. You killed my mother. Then you made me a ghost. The mother's laugh was hollow. And I'd do it again. The shop was gone. Reduced to rubble and memories. But as the seamstress sifted through the wreckage, she found it, her sewing machine, dented but intact. A survivor, like her. The millionaire knelt beside her in the dust. We'll rebuild it. Bigger. Better. She shook her head, wiping grime from the machine's cracked faceplate. No. Libby's cottage, it's got good light. Big windows. She met his eyes. I think it's time to make something new. The Wildflower Atelier opened on the cottage's sunlit porch, a boutique where Maria's paintings hung beside the seamstress's designs, where the millionaire, now ex-millionaire, kept the books in exchange for terrible sewing lessons. And on the wall, above the vintage register, a framed photo. Libby's Polaroid, placed beside a new one, the 3 of them, laughing, alive. The bell over the door jingled. A customer? No. The mother stood there, aged a decade in a year, clutching a battered envelope. Maria tensed. What do you want? She dropped the envelope onto the counter. Inside, a stack of documents transferring every remaining asset, every penny, to Maria. I'm dying, she said simply. Then, softer, the doctors say I have your mother's eyes. No one moved. No one breathed. Until the seamstress did what no one expected, she pushed a cup of steaming tea across the counter. Just tea. No forgiveness. No revenge. Just tea.